Okay, so hey guys, and today we are back with the movie review, and this time it is the Dumbo 2019 live action remake movie, which is supposed to be a remake of the 1941 Dumbo, but takes very little stuff from its source material. Anyways, let's begin the review. Okay, so now let's talk about the new CGI Dumbo and the new characters. The CGI Dumbo was just as cute as the original Dumbo, but I was expecting it to be cuter because when live action Simba can look cuter than original Simba, then why not Dumbo? But no, this Dumbo is as cute but not cuter. Anyways, this Dumbo had more reactions and emotions on his face than original Dumbo, and that is good. The new characters are pretty great, and my favorite new character is Joe, I guess, because all the new characters are pretty average. Holt and Colette are average characters, and Millie is just a little better character than them, in my opinion. And now Mrs. Jumbo is such a bad character in this movie. Oh my god, she has got no emotions or reactions like in the original. It looks like they spent all the money putting reactions in Dumbo and forgot to do anything with Mrs. Jumbo, who just looks like any other normal elephant now. And I know it is supposed to be live action and the animals are supposed to be realistic, but you can't just have no emotions or reactions on her for the sake of being realistic. Take Balu from Jungle Book 2016 for example. He looked real but also had reactions and emotions. That's how you make the perfect CGI animal with reaction. The old Mr. Jumbo was way better. Okay, so the villain in this movie is Vandermeer, and I was expecting him to be a good villain because he was a great villain as the Vulture in Spider-Man Homecoming. But this villain was again one of those average Disney villains. The cruel elephants in the original one were way better as villains because they were actually evil and also changed sides pretty easily. Like in the original, they were praising Dumbo and saying it's a proud day and all until his long ears were revealed, when all of them started hating on him. And when Mrs. Jumbo was kept under chains in the original movie, they were giving him the cold shoulder and not even talking with him. And the most evil thing Vandermeer can do is not keep a net, I guess. But at the end, it will result him in a loss only, since if anything happened, his amusement park will become infamous. So it's a pretty foolish act. Okay, so now let's talk about Vandermeer's amusement park, which is called Dreamland, which is not a great park by today's standards, but it must have been the time this story is taking place in. And yeah, I did like those bubble show, which was probably the replacement for the weird dream sequence in the original. That bubble show truly was beautiful, and I wish they showed us something better than some giant dancing bubble elephants. Like, just show us normal bubble shows. We don't want bubble elephants. Anyways, I also like that giant wheel in this park, and that parade when they entered Dreamland was pretty nice too. The security here is pretty bad though, because in the final scene, everyone easily frees Mrs. Jumbo. Okay, so now let's get to the final scene where they have this mission of freeing Mrs. Jumbo before she is killed. And they free Mrs. Jumbo, somehow with the clever plan. And then Holt climbs up to the top of the Colosseum and tears a part of it so that Dumbo and Colette can escape out of it. Now all of this works so easily, and that's pretty surprising. And then Colette and Dumbo go to switch off the power of Dreamland, and the guards stop Colette, but when Dumbo, a baby elephant, comes to pull the lever, both of the guards just watch, and one of them even refuses to stop him. The security here is pretty bad, as I told, and this scene proved it. And from the looks of this park, this must have been as big as Disneyland that time, and having such weak security for such a big park is such a shame. But then Vandermeer comes, but Dumbo and Colette escape. And then this villain just reaches the peak of his stupidity and destroys his own park by banging on the control panel with a stick like a crazy person. And then the whole park burns down because of that. And then at the end, we get a happy ending where Mrs. Jumbo and Dumbo have reached the forest, and at least this ending makes much more sense than the original one. This one had a much better ending and a one that made much more sense. Okay, so now let's compare the original with the remake because there was just so much difference between both of them. Okay, so now the villains were better in the original as I told, and the kids are basically Dumbo's guide in the remake, but I prefer Timothy because he's just more likable, at least for me. Okay, so the reveal that Dumbo can fly without feathers are great in both the movies since in the original one it was very intense and it felt so good when he finally flew up in the air, and in the remake it was pretty beautiful, so they are equally tired for me. Mrs. Jumbo is of course better in the original, and overall the original is just the better one, at least for me. Rating 7 out of 10. Best moment, the kids meet Dumbo. So yeah guys, that was it for the review, and don't forget to like, comment, share, and of course subscribe because I cannot subscribe myself, but of course you can, so do subscribe and say yeah guys, bye. And this live action Dumbo was just so cute, I love it, and say bye.